What happens when two of the most powerful voices in television history, women who shaped conversations, changed culture, and commanded silence with a single look, find themselves sitting just a few feet apart, smiling for the cameras, while an unspoken tension hums beneath every word? What happens when respect collides with conviction, when history meets the present, and when a polite daytime talk show suddenly feels like a courtroom without a judge? Before we go any further, if you're drawn to intense, cinematic celebrity moments like this one, make sure you subscribe to the Narration Show, hit like, and comment below. Your support helps bring these dramatic stories to life. The studio lights on The View glow bright, bathing the set in warm colors meant to signal comfort, familiarity, safety. The kind of place where disagreements are supposed to be friendly, wrapped in laughter and commercial breaks. The audience applauds as Oprah Winfrey walks out, measured, graceful, unmistakable. The applause is louder than usual, longer. Oprah nods politely, that practiced half-smile in place, eyes scanning the room with quiet authority. She has done this her entire life, entered rooms and changed their temperature without saying a word. Whoopi Goldberg is already seated at the table. Relaxed posture, legs crossed, arms resting casually, but her eyes are sharp, observant. She watches Oprah approach, smiles wide, stands to greet her with a brief hug. To the cameras, it looks warm, familiar, almost sisterly, but something about the hug feels shorter than expected. They sit. The applause fades. The audience settles, though a faint buzz remains, the kind that happens when people know they're about to witness something important, even if they can't yet explain why. The hosts exchange pleasantries, compliments, a few laughs. Oprah's voice fills the room like it always has, calm, grounded, deliberate. Whoopi cracks a joke. The audience responds easily. Everything appears normal. Appearances, however, are fragile things. The conversation begins innocently enough. Culture, media, responsibility. Oprah speaks about the current climate, how voices are louder than ever, how platforms amplify impact. Her words are thoughtful, reflective, but there's a weight behind them. Every sentence sounds carefully chosen, like she knows exactly where she's going, even if no one else does yet. When you have influence, Oprah says, hands folded loosely in front of her, you don't just entertain. You shape how people think, how they see each other, how they see themselves. Applause ripples through the audience. Whoopi nods slowly, eyes on Oprah, but her smile doesn't quite reach them. She leans back slightly, listening, waiting. Oprah continues, speaking about accountability, about moments when public figures must decide whether comfort is worth the cost of silence. Her tone is still calm, but the message sharpens, narrowing its focus. There are times, Oprah says, when not saying anything becomes a statement all on its own. The room reacts. A murmur, a shift in seats. Whoopi tilts her head just a little. She jumps in gently at first. I hear that, Whoopi says, her voice easy, familiar. But I also think there's a danger in demanding that everyone speak the same way, at the same time, or risk being labeled as something they're not. A few audience members clap. Oprah turns toward her fully now. The smile is still there, but thinner. I'm not talking about demanding sameness, Oprah replies. I'm talking about recognizing when silence protects the wrong things. Whoopi's eyebrows lift. And who decides what's wrong? She asks. Because lately, it feels like the court of public opinion doesn't care about context, only punishment. That word hangs in the air. Punishment. The audience quiets. Even the co-hosts stop shifting in their seats. Oprah pauses. That famous pause. The one that usually commands attention, invites reflection. This time, it feels heavier, almost tense. I think, Oprah says carefully, that when harm is happening, context can't be used as a shield forever. Whoopi leans forward now, elbows resting on the table. Her voice is still controlled, but there's an edge to it. And I think, she says, that outrage has become a sport. People want blood, not understanding. A nervous laugh escapes from somewhere in the audience. It dies quickly. Oprah's eyes narrow, not in anger but in focus. This isn't about outrage, she says. It's about responsibility. And I'm saying responsibility doesn't always mean public condemnation, Whoopi responds, her tone firmer now. Sometimes it means letting people learn without destroying them. The air in the studio feels different. Thicker. The warmth of the lights no longer comforts, it exposes. Cameras cut between faces. Oprah, composed but intense. Whoopi, calm but unyielding. Audience members leaning forward, sensing the shift from discussion to confrontation. Oprah inhales slowly. When people with power stay quiet, she says, it sends a message, whether they intend it or not. Whoopi shakes her head. No, she says. It sends a message that they're human, that they don't have all the answers, that they refuse to perform morality on demand. A low murmur ripples through the crowd. Someone whispers. Someone else claps once, then stops, unsure. The other hosts glance at each other. This isn't playful debate anymore. This is personal, philosophical, deeply rooted in values neither woman is willing to surrender. Oprah leans back in her chair, crossing her legs slowly, deliberately. I've spent my life listening to people who were hurt by silence, she says. Her voice softens, but the words land harder. Silence from institutions. Silence from leaders. Silence from people they looked up to. Whoopi meets her gaze without blinking. And I've spent my life watching people get torn apart because they didn't say the right thing fast enough, she replies. Or because they chose nuance over noise. Silence follows. Not the reflective kind. The uncomfortable kind. The kind that makes producers sweat and audiences hold their breath. Even the applause sign remains dark. Oprah's jaw tightens just slightly. Nuance, she repeats, can also be a luxury. Whoopi exhales, slow and controlled. So can judgment, she says. The words hit harder than either of them likely intended. A few gasps ripple through the audience. Someone audibly inhales. Oprah blinks once then twice. For the first time, something flashes across her face, surprise perhaps. Or hurt. The conversation has crossed an invisible line. Oprah straightens. I don't believe calling for accountability is judgment, she says. I believe it's love, love that demands better. And I don't believe public shaming is love, Whoopi fires back, her voice rising just enough to feel it. I believe it's fear dressed up as virtue. The tension is undeniable now. The hosts shift uncomfortably. A producer's voice crackles faintly through an earpiece somewhere off camera, urging a wrap-up that no one on set is ready for. Oprah looks away for a brief second, gathering herself, then looks back at Whoopi. We may never agree on this, she says quietly. But I can't pretend that staying silent hasn't cost people their dignity. Whoopi's expression softens, but only slightly. And I can't pretend, she says, that speaking out hasn't destroyed people who didn't deserve it. The audience finally reacts, scattered applause, unsure and uneven. It fades quickly, leaving behind a charged stillness that no transition can erase. The segment technically moves on. Another host speaks. Another topic is introduced. But no one is really listening anymore. Because something rare has just happened. Two icons didn't just disagree. They revealed a fracture between generations, philosophies, and visions of justice. A fracture that has been quietly widening for years. And this moment, this was only the beginning. The cameras keep rolling, but something essential has already changed. The easy rhythm of daytime television, the practiced smiles, the gentle interruptions, the comforting cadence, is gone. In its place is a brittle stillness, like glass stretched too thin. The next topic is introduced, but it lands flat, dissolving the moment it leaves the host's mouth. Oprah nods politely, Whoopi listens, but neither is truly present anymore. Their minds are still locked in the exchange they just had, replaying words, weighing meanings, feeling the aftershock. The audience senses it too. You can feel their attention drifting back to that moment, that sharp turn in the conversation. People shift in their seats, whisper to one another, glance at the two women at the table instead of the cue cards or the monitors. This isn't just another disagreement. This feels personal, historical, like watching two tectonic plates scrape against each other in real time. During the commercial break, the red lights dim, but the tension doesn't. A few staff members move quickly across the set, adjusting microphones, offering water. Oprah accepts a glass, nodding thanks, her face composed but distant. Whoopi waves off the offer, crossing her arms loosely, staring out toward the empty rows beyond the cameras. Neither woman speaks to the other. Not yet. The break ends. The lights come back up. Applause is cued, louder than necessary, as if volume alone can smooth over what just happened. Oprah smiles again for the cameras. Whoopi cracks a quick joke, something self-deprecating, something safe. The audience laughs, relieved to have permission to breathe. But underneath it all, the unresolved tension pulses. The conversation circles back, carefully at first, to influence, legacy, the future of media. Oprah talks about young voices, about the responsibility of shaping narratives with care. Her words are broader now, less pointed, but the subtext remains. Every sentence feels like it's carrying a second meaning, one only Whoopi seems fully tuned into. Whoopi listens, nodding occasionally, but her patience is thinning. She's never been one to let things fester. When she speaks again, it's calm but direct. I think we forget, she says, that people don't grow in public the way we want them to. Growth is messy. It's private. And sometimes forcing it into the spotlight makes people dig in instead of reflect. Oprah turns toward her slowly. The cameras catch it. The audience feels it. This is no longer an accidental disagreement. It's intentional now. But when harm is public, Oprah replies, can growth really stay private? The question hangs there, heavy. Whoopi presses her lips together, then releases a breath. It can start private, she says. And that matters. Not every mistake needs an audience. A ripple of applause moves through the crowd, stronger this time. Oprah notices. Her eyes flick briefly toward the audience, then back to Whoopi. The look isn't defensive, but it is aware. She knows what it means when a room responds like that. And what about the people watching? Oprah asks. The ones who feel unseen, unheard, hurt. What do they learn when powerful voices choose quiet? Whoopi's jaw tightens. They learn, she says, that justice isn't a performance. That lands hard. A few gasps. One sharp clap, then another. The applause grows, then fades as quickly as it came, swallowed by the discomfort of its own volume. The co-hosts shift again. One tries to soften the moment with a segue, but the energy won't move. It's stuck, right here between two women who refuse to back down. Oprah's voice lowers. It's still calm, but now there's emotion beneath it. I've sat with too many people who waited for someone, anyone, to speak up for them, she says. They didn't need perfection. They needed acknowledgement. Whoopi looks at her, really looks at her now. The sharpness in her expression softens, just a little. And I've sat with people who were broken by being turned into symbols, she says quietly. People who made mistakes and never got the chance to be more than them. The studio grows quiet again, but this time it's different. This silence isn't sharp, it's heavy with understanding. For a brief moment, it feels like the conflict might resolve, like empathy might bridge the gap. But empathy doesn't erase conviction. Oprah nods slowly. Maybe, she says, this is where we differ. I believe visibility can be healing. Whoopi shakes her head. And I believe visibility can be cruel. Neither woman raises her voice. They don't need to. The weight of their words does all the work. This isn't about one incident, one headline, one controversy. This is about worldview. About how each of them has navigated power, criticism, and responsibility across decades in the public eye. The segment finally ends. Applause fills the studio again, but it's fractured, uneven, uncertain. As the cameras pull back, Oprah thanks the hosts graciously. Whoopi smiles, warm on the surface, guarded underneath. They stand, exchange a brief hug for the cameras. It looks polite, professional. It does not look resolved. Backstage, away from the lights, the atmosphere shifts again. The air feels cooler, quieter. Oprah walks down the corridor with her team, her expression thoughtful, distant. Someone asks if she's okay. She nods, says she's fine, but her mind is elsewhere. She replays the exchange again and again, not with regret, but with a sense of unfinished business. Whoopi lingers behind, talking quietly with a producer. Her tone is low, controlled. She isn't angry, but she isn't satisfied either. I said what I said, she murmurs. And I meant it. Word travels fast in places like this. Staffers whisper. Phones buzz. Clips are already being pulled, isolated, framed. By the time Oprah steps into her car, her publicist is already scrolling through social media, eyes widening. They're calling it a showdown, she says carefully. People are picking sides. Oprah sighs softly, leaning back against the seat. Of course they are. Across town, Whoopi's phone lights up too. Messages from friends, colleagues, allies. Some supportive, some cautious, some warning her how it looks. She reads them silently, her expression unreadable. By evening, the clips are everywhere. Short snippets stripped of context. Headlines sharpened for clicks. Oprah calls out silence. Whoopi pushes back on outrage culture. Comment sections explode. Think pieces begin drafting themselves in real time. Fans argue. Critics analyze body language, tone pauses. Every look is dissected. Every word weighed. Some praise Oprah's moral clarity. Others applaud Whoopi's defense of nuance. Few acknowledge that both women might be speaking from deeply personal truths. Neither Oprah nor Whoopi posts anything that night. No clarifications. No apologies. No explanations. The silence only fuels the fire. Because now the disagreement no longer belongs to them. It belongs to everyone watching. And the question hanging in the air is no longer just what happened on The View, but what this moment says about power, accountability, and the cost of speaking up or staying quiet. By the next morning, the moment has grown teeth. The sun rises, but the conversation never slept. Screens glow with replayed clips, slowed down, zoomed in, annotated with captions that turn pauses into accusations and glances into verdicts. Morning shows dissect the exchange frame by frame. Podcasts rush out emergency episodes. Opinion pieces race each other to publication, each one declaring what the moment really meant. And somewhere between the headlines and the hot takes, the truth becomes harder to see. Oprah wakes early, as she always does. The house is quiet, almost reverent in the morning light. She pours herself tea, sits by the window, and allows herself a rare stillness. But her mind refuses to rest. The words replay again, not Whoopi's tone, not the audience reaction, but that single phrase. Justice isn't a performance. It lingers. She doesn't feel attacked. That's not it. She feels challenged. Not publicly, she's weathered that before, but philosophically. It presses against something she has believed for decades. That visibility can heal, that naming harm aloud is the first step toward repair. She thinks of letters she's read, confessions she's held, tears she's witnessed from people who felt saved simply because someone finally said, "I see you." Her phone buzzes. A message from a longtime friend. Supportive. Careful. "You were brave," it reads. "But people are divided." Oprah exhales. Divided. That word again. Across the city, Whoopi sits at her kitchen table, sunglasses still on though the blinds are closed. The television hums in the background, muted, but she knows exactly what's on. She doesn't need to hear it. She's already lived it. She scrolls through her phone, stopping occasionally to read a message, then moving on without responding. Some thank her for standing up to outrage. Others accuse her of defending silence. One comment, repeated over and over, makes her jaw clench. "Disappointed in you." She scoffs quietly. "Join the club," she mutters to no one. What they don't see, what the comments don't capture, is the weight behind her words. The friends she's watched crumble under public scrutiny. The people who were never allowed to be more than their worst moment. She thinks of how fast crowds turn, how unforgiving certainty can be when it has no room for humanity. By midday, the story has evolved. It's no longer just about what was said, it's about what it represents. Think pieces frame it as a generational divide. Others call it a cultural reckoning. Some claim it's proof that even progressive spaces are splintering under pressure. Neither woman speaks publicly. That silence becomes its own headline. A producer reaches out to Oprah's team, suggesting a follow-up appearance. Clarify, they say. Contextualize. Oprah listens thoughtful. She doesn't refuse, but she doesn't agree either. "I don't want to turn this into a spectacle," she says quietly. That would defeat the point. Whoopi gets a similar call. A request to address the moment on air. She laughs, short and humorless. "So they want me to explain myself to people who've already decided what I meant." She shakes her head. "No, I said what I said." Still, the moment gnaws at both of them. Not because of backlash, but because of recognition. They each see something uncomfortably familiar in the other. A mirror reflecting a different path taken through the same storm. That evening, at a private event neither expected the other to attend, they cross paths again. The room is quieter than a studio. No cameras. No applause signs. Just low music, soft laughter, the clink of glasses. Oprah spots Whoopi across the room first. Their eyes meet for a fraction of a second. Long enough to register surprise, hesitation, and something else beneath it. History. Whoopi considers leaving. Oprah considers pretending she didn't see her. Neither does. They approach each other slowly, cautiously, like two people stepping onto uncertain ground. No entourage. No mediators. Just them. "Well," Whoopi says first, her tone dry. "Guess we really know how to light a match." Oprah smiles faintly. "Seems that way." An awkward pause follows. Not hostile, just unfamiliar. Oprah breaks it. "I wasn't trying to corner you," she says. "On the show." Whoopi nods. "I know. And I wasn't trying to dismiss what you stand for." They stand there, surrounded by noise that somehow feels distant. Oprah studies Whoopi's face, really studies it. Not the performer. The woman. "You sounded tired. Oprah says softly. When you talked about outrage. Whoopi exhales. Because I am. Oprah nods slowly. I'm tired too, she admits. Of watching people beg to be seen. The honesty between them is startling. It strips away the public armor, leaving two women shaped by decades of carrying other people's pain. I don't think silence is harmless, Oprah says quietly. And I don't think noise is always justice, Whoopi replies. They don't argue this time. They just let the statements exist side by side. For a moment, it feels like resolution might be possible, not agreement, but understanding. Then someone interrupts. A greeting. A distraction. The moment fractures, slipping away before it can fully form. They part with a hug, longer than the one on television. Still careful. Still incomplete. Later that night, Oprah sits alone again, reflecting. She realizes something uncomfortable. Whoopi isn't wrong. Not entirely. And neither is she. The conflict wasn't about winning. It was about exposure, of values, fears, limits. Whoopi, back at home, stares at the ceiling, replaying the conversation. She recognizes something she didn't expect. Oprah's hurt wasn't performative. It was real. Earned. Rooted in people Whoopi herself has defended in different ways. The internet, meanwhile, continues its feast. The moment has grown beyond them now. It's a symbol. A battleground. A test people use to measure themselves against. And that may be the most unsettling part. Because somewhere between the clips and the commentary, the world has turned a nuanced disagreement into a binary choice. As if only one truth can exist at a time. Neither Oprah nor Whoopi sleeps easily that night. They both know this story isn't finished. Not yet. The next day, the world decides what the moment means. It doesn't ask. It declares. By sunrise, the disagreement has fully escaped its origin. It's no longer Oprah versus Whoopi. It's a referendum. Silence versus speech. Accountability versus compassion. Moral clarity versus nuance. Social media reduces years of lived experience into two opposing hashtags, each demanding allegiance. Neutrality is treated like betrayal. Complexity like weakness. Clips loop endlessly. One frame freezes on Oprah's pause, captioned as disappointment. Another isolates Whoopi's response, framed as defiance. The pauses are louder than the words now. People argue not just about what was said, but about who they are, using Oprah and Whoopi as proxies for their own beliefs. The audience from The View that day starts sharing their experiences. One woman tweets that she felt chills in the room, like watching history crack open. Another says she wanted to clap for both of them and didn't know how. A man posts that it was the first time daytime television felt honest in years. Networks invite experts. Psychologists analyze body language. Cultural critics call it a rare public rupture between two moral frameworks that usually stand united. Others are harsher, framing it as a power struggle, a betrayal, a disappointment. Neither woman responds. That silence becomes thunder. Oprah's team urges her to issue a statement, something soothing, something clarifying. She listens, nods, but ultimately declines. If I explain, she says, people will only hear what they already want to hear. Whoopi receives similar pressure. Friends text her drafts they think she should post. Just one sentence, they suggest. Just to clear the air. She types. Deletes. Types again. Deletes again. Finally, she puts the phone down. I don't owe the internet my interior life, she mutters. But the pressure is relentless. At a charity event days later, Oprah is asked about it on a red carpet. The microphone hovers too close, invasive. She pauses, again that pause, now famous, and answers softly. I believe in conversations that make us uncomfortable. That's all I'll say. The clip goes viral within minutes. Whoopi is asked on her show whether she regrets the exchange. She leans back in her chair, eyes steady. No, she says. I regret that we live in a world where disagreement feels like war. That clip follows. The audience response fractures further. Some celebrate the restraint. Others demand more. Apologies. Clarifications. Winners and losers. But something unexpected happens beneath the noise. People begin talking to each other. In comment sections, in living rooms, in classrooms, the debate expands. Teachers use the clip to discuss civic responsibility. Therapists reference it when talking about shame and accountability. Families argue over dinner, then listen in silence, then argue again, but with more care. The disagreement becomes a mirror. And slowly the tone shifts. Not everywhere. Not all at once. But enough to notice. Weeks later, Oprah and Whoopi find themselves on the same stage again. Not on The View, not on television at all, but at a closed-door media summit. No cameras. No live audience. Just industry peers. The tension is still there, but it's quieter now, more reflective than sharp. When Oprah speaks, she doesn't reference the moment directly. She talks about responsibility, yes, but also about humility. About listening without rushing to fix. About letting disagreement exist without demanding resolution. When Whoopi speaks later, she talks about compassion, not as an escape from accountability, but as a necessary companion to it. She speaks about damage done by certainty that refuses to bend. About leaving room for people to grow without being crushed. Those in the room notice something subtle. Their arguments are no longer colliding. They're orbiting. Afterward, backstage, Oprah approaches Whoopi again. This time there's no hesitation. "I don't think we were ever really arguing," Oprah says. Whoopi chuckles softly. "No," she agrees. "We were translating the same pain into different languages." They don't hug this time. They don't need to. The understanding is quieter, deeper. Not agreement, but respect renewed through honesty rather than politeness. The public never sees this moment. And maybe that's the point. Because what lingers isn't the reconciliation, it's the rupture. The rare, uncomfortable truth of watching two legends refuse to flatten themselves for ease. Refuse to turn conviction into performance. Refuse to pretend complexity is a flaw. The audience reaction, in the end, is mixed but changed. Some viewers remain angry. Others grateful. Many thoughtful. The comment sections evolve from shouting matches into long threads where people admit uncertainty. Admit they don't know where they stand. Admit they see themselves in both women. And that may be the real aftermath. Not a winner. Not a loser. But a moment that forced people to sit with discomfort and listen. So now it's your turn. Did Oprah speak the necessary truth about accountability and visibility? Or did Whoopi defend something essential about compassion, restraint, and humanity? Tell us what you felt watching that moment. Share your perspective in the comments. We read them all. And if you want more cinematic, emotional, behind-the-moment stories like this, subscribe to the Narration Show, like this video, and stay with us. Because sometimes the most powerful stories aren't about shouting louder. They're about what happens when no one looks away.